I still remember the sting of those words as if they were etched into my skin with a hot iron. The champagne glass in Alex's hand caught the light of the chandeliers as he raised it high, smiling in front of the packed graduation hall. After tonight, Morgan's apartment and savings are basically mine. Cheers to my upgrade. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Some clapped, some whistled, others lifted their glasses without a thought. A phone camera flashed from the corner, and I noticed one of Alex's classmates already posting the toast on Instagram. My heart sank as I held the keys to my apartment in my palm, the metal digging into my skin until it hurt. That one gesture told me more than the toast ever could to him. I was not a partner, but a prize, a financial ladder dressed up as love. The setting should have been one of celebration. A polished New York venue complete with white tablecloths, silver cutlery, and waiters carrying trays of hors d'oeuvre. Alex had just earned his MBA, and the families were gathered for the kind of party people dream about. His parents wore proud smiles while mine had stayed home thinking this was Alex's moment. They had no idea what was about to unfold. I sat at a table near the back watching the scene through a fog of disbelief. The crowd cheered for him, but no one looked at me. I could have been invisible. My life, my savings, my home spoken of, like they were bullet points on a resume he had conquered. It wasn't a slip of the tongue, it was a declaration as public as the stage he was standing on. A strange calm settled over me. The first layer of shock peeled away, leaving a hollow quiet. I looked down at the keys in my hand. They had weight, real weight, not just metal. They carried years of work, long nights, crunching numbers, endless hours behind a desk in the financial district. Every dollar in my savings account was earned, not handed. And yet in one drunken toast, Alex reduced it to a punchline. People kept clinking glasses, pretending everything was normal. The music resumed, chatter filled the air, and laughter covered the wound as if humiliation could be drowned in noise. But I heard it all clear as a bell. Behind the smiles was mockery, and I carried it alone. For a moment I thought about leaving quietly, slipping out before the speeches ended. But something in me tightened, like a rope pulled too far. No, I told myself. This was only the beginning. They thought I was silent, but silence can turn into strategy. I want you, the listener, to understand something. When money enters a family or a relationship, truth comes out faster than you can imagine. Words become sharper, greed becomes bolder. Tonight was not just about Alex's graduation. It was about the mask slipping. And trust me, this story is only going to get darker. I'll explain in a moment. Tell me where you're watching from and hit subscribe. We need to talk about families and money. After Alex's toast, the room moved on as if nothing had happened. The music swelled again, glasses clinked, people mingled. I sat still, my hands folded tightly around my keys. No one asked how I felt. No one even glanced at me. In that instant, I was both present and erased. The strange thing about humiliation is how quiet it can be. It doesn't always explode into a fight. Sometimes it sinks into your bones cold and heavy, leaving you motionless while the world dances around you. That's how I felt sitting in that hall. Calm on the outside, broken within. Alex came back to the table flushed from the attention. He leaned down and kissed my cheek too loudly, as if to reassure the onlookers that everything was fine. I forced a smile, the kind that stretches the skin but means nothing. Around us, his classmates congratulated him, some whispering, "Lucky guy. That apartment in Manhattan, that's real security." My ears burned, but I stayed silent. I thought about the long years that had built my life, late nights in the office, spreadsheets that blurred into one another, dinners eaten alone at my desk. Every cent in that savings account represented a piece of my independence. And yet, in the eyes of these people, I was merely Alex's benefactor in disguise. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification from Instagram. I opened it, and there it was, the clip of Alex's toast already posted with filters and hashtags. People were commenting, laughing, emojis, winks, even one friend tagging another with the words, "He really said that." My humiliation had gone public. I slipped the phone back into my bag before anyone noticed my expression. The party raged on, but I could no longer hear the music. Instead, I heard a voice inside whispering, "This is not love. This is ownership." Later that night, when we returned to the apartment, Alex collapsed onto the couch, drunk and satisfied. I went straight to the bedroom. I didn't speak. I didn't shout. I simply sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and scrolled through my emails. That's when I saw a thread from his group of friends. Months ago, by accident, I had been added to a group chat of his classmates. I never left it, just muted the notifications. They probably assumed I hadn't noticed. Tonight, curiosity pulled me back in, and what I saw there froze me in place. "Oh my God," that toast one bridesmaid typed. "She better not ruin the wedding. We need those pictures for our feeds," another replied. "She won't. Morgan's too calm, too boring. She'll just swallow it." A third chimed in. "At least Alex gets the apartment. Honestly, that's the real win." They weren't just laughing at his words, they were laughing at me. The woman who had spent years working, saving, building a future, reduced to a background character in their story. I sat back in my chair staring at the screen until the messages blurred. Betrayal has layers. Sometimes it comes not just from a partner, but from the circle that surrounds him. And as I read, I realized I was surrounded by people who saw me not as family to be, but as an accessory. But what they didn't know was this: Alex had already lied about a work trip 2 weeks ago. He claimed he was preparing for a thesis presentation out of town. Yet I had a different record of that night, one saved quietly on my apartment's security system. I'll tell you about that proof soon. For now, remember, this silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is preparation. 2 weeks before the graduation party, Alex had told me he was staying overnight at a hotel near campus. He said he needed the quiet, the focus, the chance to polish his thesis without distraction. I had nodded, believing him. After all, I had no reason to doubt. Or so I thought. That same night, just before midnight, I heard the familiar chime of the apartment's security system. The small camera by the front door had picked up motion. Normally, I wouldn't have checked it off and caught the delivery man or a neighbor passing by. But something tugged at me, so I opened the app. The footage was clear: Alex stepping out of a rideshare car with someone beside him. Not a classmate I knew, not a relative, just a woman in a dark coat, laughing as though the night belonged to them alone. They paused at the door, and Alex leaned close, his hand brushing her waist. Then came the kiss, unashamed, bold, right at the threshold of the home we shared. He didn't come inside with her. He walked her back to the car, whispered something that made her laugh again, and then returned alone. But the damage was done. In less than 2 minutes of grainy footage, everything I thought I knew about him unraveled. I saved the clip to a hidden folder on my laptop, locking it with a password only I knew. I didn't confront him. Not then. I carried it like a stone in my pocket, heavy but useful. Part of me wanted to believe it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment, something alcohol could explain. Yet deep down I knew better. People don't casually kiss coworkers at midnight if they intend to keep their vows. The betrayal grew roots when paired with the group chat I had stumbled across after his graduation toast. They joked about me, assumed I'd stay quiet, and all the while Alex was living a double life. I spent the following days in silence. At work, I buried myself in spreadsheets, hiding behind numbers that made sense when nothing else did. At night, I came home to Alex, who acted as if nothing had happened. He laughed, planned the wedding, discussed honeymoon destinations as if the footage didn't exist. But each time he kissed me goodnight, I remembered that image of him kissing her. My lips would go cold. I couldn't shake the sound of her laughter, echoing through the camera's microphone. I thought of the wedding contract sitting in my drawer, signed in my name. The deposits already paid amounts that together topped more than $100,000. Money I had worked for, money that was now tied to a celebration built on lies. Still, I stayed quiet. Not because I was weak, but because silence sharpens resolve. I knew if I moved too soon, I'd lose the chance to expose the truth in full. Revenge is not about rage. It is about timing. The night after the graduation party, as Alex slept soundly beside me, I pulled up the footage again. I watched every second, memorized the way his hand rested on her waist, the way she tilted her head toward him. The betrayal no longer cut. It fueled me. But here's the part they didn't know. When you betray someone who has spent a lifetime building, saving, planning, you don't just break their heart. You ignite something else entirely. And soon everyone would see the evidence, not just me. It didn't take long for Alex's family to intervene. The morning after the graduation party, my phone rang before breakfast. His mother's voice crackled through the line, sharp and commanding. "Morgan, you need to let this go." Alex made a joke. "We've already paid deposits worth over $100,000. The wedding cannot be canceled over one slip of the tongue." I stayed quiet for a moment, staring at the coffee mug in my hand. One slip of the tongue. That toast had not been clumsy. It had been deliberate, and it had landed like a slap. Before I could answer, she continued, "You'll thank me later. Just marry him. Half of your $1 million estate will be ours anyway. That's how marriage works. Those words struck harder than Alex's toast. Not only did she see me as a wallet, she spoke as though my independence was already property of their family. The calm I had felt at the party began to harden into something sharper. I set the phone down on the counter, pressing the speaker button. My laptop sat open nearby. Quietly, I started recording. "You're not listening," I said, my voice measured. "This isn't about money, it's about respect." Her laugh was short, almost cruel. "Respect doesn't pay for venues or photographers. Stop being dramatic. Do the right thing." I let her speak. Every word she gave me was fuel proof that this was not just Alex, but the family surrounding him. They weren't worried about love or partnership. They were worried about contracts, appearances, and what they stood to gain. By afternoon, it wasn't just calls. They came in person. I was at my apartment packing a small overnight bag when the buzzer rang. Through the peephole, I saw them Alex's parents, his younger sister, even his father standing stiffly in the hallway. Morgan opened the door. "We need to talk like adults," his mother said, her tone rehearsed. I kept the camera of my phone aimed at the peephole and hit record. "I am an adult," I replied, "one who doesn't take orders in her own home." The hallway grew tense. His sister muttered something under her breath. His father cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable, but his mother pushed on. "You've been given more than enough. Don't ruin everything with pride. Think of the wedding. Think of Alex's reputation." Her hand slapped the door hard enough to make it rattle. A neighbor's door opened down the hall. Voices carried and whispers began. Humiliation was supposed to be my burden, but I could hear it shifting. They were the ones drawing attention now. "You can shout all you want," I said, still recording. "But understand this, your words don't erase the truth. Your son has already done that." There was a pause, then the sound of retreating footsteps. They left in a storm of mutters, the mother's voice still rising as the elevator doors closed. I played the video back, listening to every word she had said. It wasn't just confrontation, it was confession. Proof that they saw me not as family, but as property. And that video would not stay hidden for long. By the end of that week, I was done playing the quiet victim. Silence had served its purpose. Now it was time for action. The wedding contract sat in my drawer, thick with signatures and stamps. My name was the one tied to every deposit venues, photographers, catering, even the florist who had demanded half up front. It was all mine legally. I had written the checks, I had signed the documents, and I had the authority to tear them apart. One evening, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open. On the screen was the footage from my apartment camera, Alex leaning against the doorway, kissing that woman at midnight. The timestamp glowed like a scar. I paired it with a screenshot of the contract's first page, my name bold across the top. Then I opened the private Facebook group created for our wedding guests. Friends, colleagues, distant relatives, all were there already buzzing about travel plans and outfits. With one steady breath, I typed the post. Contract canceled. Refunds in process. Loyalty tuition paid in full. For clarity, here's why. I attached the footage. Hit post. The reaction was instant. My phone lit up with alerts buzzing so fast I could barely read them. Shocked emojis, comments piling up, messages from numbers I hadn't seen in years. Within minutes, the video had been shared beyond the group, spilling into wider circles. Screenshots of the contract, the footage, even my caption, spread like wildfire. The first calls came from Alex. I ignored them. The second wave came from his friends, their tones shifting from frantic to furious. "Take it down, Morgan. You're humiliating him." As though humiliation wasn't exactly what they had applauded 2 nights earlier. And then came Alex's own defense. A Notes app apology plastered across his social media accounts. In it, he claimed I was insecure, that the woman in the footage was just a friend, that nothing had happened beyond an innocent mistake. But Alex made one fatal error. In his rush to sound sincere, he wrote, "Morgan has always been controlling about Jenna, even though nothing ever happened." He had given her a name, something I had never revealed. The internet pounced. Wait, one comment read, "How did she know it was Jenna unless he just admitted it?" Another said, "So the midnight kiss was innocent. This is the defense you're going with." And then the coup de grace, Jenna's own boyfriend tagging her in the comments. "So this is where you were Tuesday night." The post vanished within an hour, but the screenshots lived on. The damage was irreversible. Meanwhile, the footage I had recorded of his family at my apartment was waiting on my phone. His mother's words cold and sharp. Just marry him. Half of your $1 million estate will be ours anyway. I hadn't posted it yet, but I knew the time would come. For now, the collapse was enough. The florist messaged me privately, saying she respected my decision and hoped I kept the deposit as a reminder never to settle. The venue confirmed the cancellation, thanking me for handling it directly. Even the photographer, a college friend, sent a simple text. Good call, proud of you. And through it all, I sat in my apartment quiet again, but this time it was the quiet of power, not submission. But the best revenge was still coming. By Monday morning, the story was everywhere. Friends who had stayed silent during Alex's toast were now whispering in corners of the internet, resharing the footage with captions like "Imagine being her" or "This is why you don't play with people's trust." The video had escaped the safety of a wedding guest list. Now it lived on strangers' timelines, gathering millions of eyes. The pressure on Alex was visible. His once confident social media pages turned into a battleground. One day earlier, his profile picture had been the two of us at Central Park, smiling in the snow. By Monday, it was gone, replaced by a gray silhouette, as if he could erase the past with a click. His friends tried defending him, but every comment was drowned by strangers demanding accountability. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again, Venmo notifications this time. Alex had sent me $2,500 with a note. My half of the deposits. I stared at the screen, then hit return. Along with it, I typed, "Keep it. Consider it a freedom tax." 5 minutes later, another transfer came through. Same amount, new note. Stop being petty. I returned it. This time my message was sharper. Stop being a cheater. It went on like that back and forth 8 times in total, until Venmo flagged our accounts for unusual activity and temporarily froze both. My irritation turned into a laugh so deep I nearly dropped my phone. But it didn't end there. His family, unwilling to admit defeat, turned their anger into new attempts. His mother stormed into the wedding venue, demanding they ignore my cancellation and let her take over the contract. The coordinator called me personally, her voice low with disbelief. She tried booking the same date under her name, the woman said. But here's the wild part: Alex showed up with Jenna and her boyfriend. They wanted to reserve it for their own party. I almost dropped the phone. Her boyfriend. Yes, she replied, pausing. Apparently, they're working things out. The girlfriend was loudly telling everyone his homewrecker phase was over. Instant karma. By evening, the internet had shifted fully. Alex's Notes app apology was dissected in videos, his mother's words were being quoted in meme form, and even the footage of him kissing Jenna was stitched into TikTok remixes, with captions like "MBA equals married but available." Yet despite the chaos, I stayed grounded. I returned home that night expecting silence. Instead, I found Alex at the building's entrance with 3 suitcases stacked beside him. His face was pale, his voice desperate. "Morgan, we can fix this. Let me come in, let me explain." But the key in my hand felt heavier than his words. I shook my head, stepped past him, and locked the door behind me. Through the peephole I watched as he slumped against the wall, his carefully crafted world collapsing around him. It is one thing to be betrayed in private. It is another to watch betrayal go viral. By midweek, the clips had taken on a life of their own. Teenagers were lip-syncing Alex's toast on TikTok, holding fake champagne glasses and smirking into the camera. Others stitched my peephole footage, layering text that read, "When the in-laws want your $1 million estate." The numbers climbed fast. Hundreds of thousands of likes, then millions. Strangers debated my life in the comments, some siding with me, others speculating about Alex's arrogance. I had become a character in the internet's endless drama feed, yet, for once, I wasn't the one being ridiculed. The world had seen the truth, and the world was not kind to him. At work, I tried to keep my head down. Colleagues whispered, but their whispers carried respect. One older manager stopped by my desk, placed a hand gently on my shoulder, and said, "Good for you, Morgan. Better to lose a man than to lose yourself." Those words mattered more than the millions of strangers online. Meanwhile, Alex's professional life began to fracture. His marketing firm prided itself on image reputation and client trust. Now his face was plastered across viral threads, his name tied to betrayal and greed. By Friday, the firm issued a statement: "We do not condone the actions of our employee and have ended his contract effective immediately." Just like that, his job was gone. Jenna faced her own reckoning. Her boyfriend, no longer silent, posted screenshots of her messages with Alex. The timestamps matched perfectly with the night of the so-called thesis trip. The internet ate it up, dissecting every emoji, every line. Within hours, Jenna deactivated her accounts, vanishing like smoke. Through it all, Alex's family grew desperate. His mother called again, her voice hoarse. "Morgan, stop this circus. Take down the videos. Think of how you look, parading private matters online." I laughed, not out of joy, but out of clarity. I didn't parade anything. Alex created this story. The world simply hit play. That night, I released the final clip, the peephole recording of their visit to my apartment. The mother's voice rang clear. "Just marry him. Half of your $1 million estate will be ours anyway." The internet needed no further explanation. By morning, that clip alone had gathered over 10 million views. Memes sprouted everywhere, some cruel, some comical, but all condemning. The family name became shorthand for greed. Alex could not escape it. But here's the thing about revenge. It does not always taste sweet. Watching someone unravel is not joy, it is confirmation. What had been hidden was now undeniable. Betrayal had consequences, and those who thought they could mock me in whispers were now mocked by the world. Still, one part remained unfinished. The story wasn't over yet. The storm eventually quieted, as all storms do. Viral clips faded from the front page, new scandals replaced mine, and the internet turned its restless gaze elsewhere. But inside my own life, the silence was knee-deep and strangely comforting. I moved out of the apartment that had once been ours. It had too many shadows, too many memories tied to laughter that no longer meant anything. I packed my things into neat boxes, labeled each one carefully, and loaded them into a moving van. This time I chose a place for myself alone, a smaller apartment uptown with a view of the river. It wasn't as grand, but it was mine untouched by betrayal. On my final night in the old place, I walked through the empty rooms. The walls echoed faintly, as if replaying the past, his laughter, his excuses, the sound of his family shouting in the hallway. I let the keys rest in my palm one last time. They had once symbolized independence. Then they became a chain. Tonight they were simply metal. I placed them on the counter and walked out. As I locked the door behind me, my phone buzzed. A Venmo notification. Somehow Alex had tried one last time, sending me money with a note, "Take me back." I didn't hesitate. I blocked him not just on Venmo, but everywhere. No more messages, no more calls. The chapter was closed. In the weeks that followed, I rebuilt my routine. Mornings with coffee by the river, evenings spent walking through quiet streets. At work, I felt sharper, more focused. The respect from colleagues lingered. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years reached out, not out of pity, but out of admiration. They saw strength where once there had been silence. I came to realize something in those quiet weeks. Money reveals truths people would rather keep hidden. It turns whispers into demands, love into transactions, family into negotiators. But betrayal, strips away the final veil. You learn exactly who sees you as a partner and who sees you as property. Alex had lost his job, his reputation, and the future he thought he could take from me. His family had become infamous for greed, their voices replayed millions of times online. And me, I walked away with what I had always had, my independence, my savings, my ability to stand on my own. Revenge wasn't about destroying him. It was about refusing to be destroyed myself. If you think I made the right choice, comment right. If you would have handled it differently, share your idea.